You're speaking to a man who ran a school for a lot of years, right, Charles?
Really?
Well, yes. It was a kind of special needs school.
Yeah, that's a good description.
He was there too.
Oh, yeah, no, I got kicked out a few times.
I wish I could say you were a good pupil, but the words would choke me.
Hey, I'm Christopher John Farley, a senior editor at the Wall Street Journal. Today my guest is Patrick Stewart. He's one of the stars of the new movie Logan. So you played this character, Professor X, for 17 years now. What makes your performance in this film different than the ones we've seen before?
Word came to me that there's going to be another X-Men movie. And I said, yes, you're in it. Well, I was pleased about that. But it's going to be rather different. And then other little thoughts trickled down from the studio. This is very different. This is going to be a different kind of X-Men altogether. And finally, I got a script. And I could see at once that we were in a different environment altogether. The world had changed. And it wasn't, however, until page 7, I think it was 7, when I got to my first appearance in the movie, quite a long scene with Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, that I realized how different it was. And it wasn't the dialogue, it was the stage direction. They described where we were. Have you seen the movie?
I have seen the movie, of course.
Yeah, so you know that amazing set of where Charles lives. He's apparently living in the inside of a huge overturned oil tank,
right,
petrol, something, or grain silo. We don't know what it is. Well, that's not Charles Xavier's world. No more luxury mansions for the schools for gifted children. And I was hooked. And then with every page that I turned, I found my interest growing and growing and growing. And I realized what I'd been told was true. This was not going to be a typical X-Men movie. And we do learn very early on, in the first scene, that Charles is frail, vulnerable, confused, angry, intolerant, all of the things we never saw from this calm, intellectual, cerebral person, I mean truly cerebral person that we'd met in the other movies. But furthermore, he's dangerous. He's out of control, and his mind has now become a potential weapon of destruction. And therefore, he has to be kept sedated. Who sedates him? Well, the guy who looks after him, who is Logan, who drives a nasty old limo around Juarez and El Paso. And he is earning money to keep Charles alive by providing him with medications. So, I mean, how different can you possibly be? That's the first 10 minutes of the movie.
Now, I've heard you say that this is your last X-Men movie. I've also heard Hugh Jackman, he came here and said that this is his last X-Men movie as well. But you seem to be going a little bit back and forth in that, because I've heard you also say that, maybe, something could perhaps get you or Hugh back into the franchise. What are your feelings right now about the franchise and your future in it?
Well, I'm very proud of the franchise. I'm very proud of all the work that we've done for Marvel on their X-Men series. Hugh went on record a long time ago that this would be his last movie. There is no question of that, and I think Hugh will keep his word. It didn't happen to me until about 10 days ago when we were in Berlin promoting the movie on a European tour. We've just come back from China, by the way, yesterday morning, in fact. And I was sitting alongside Hugh watching the last few minutes of the movie, it's very emotional. And I suddenly felt that Hugh had reached out and taken my hand and was squeezing it. And I saw him just raise his hand like this. And I was so relieved, because I thought if Hugh Jackman can wipe away a tear, then I can too. And I did the same thing. But then we had to sit there while the credits rolled before we could be introduced from the stage. And it was while watching the credits that the notion literally floated into my skull. There cannot be a better, more perfect, more appropriate, a better way that Charles would have approved of than to say au revoir with this movie. And so I started talking about it.
But of course, in superhero world, people never really completely die. And there are all sorts of spin-off projects happening in Marvel. If, for example, now they have the show on TV called Legion, in which there's a kid who, in the comic books, is Professor X's child. Have there been any talks about you perhaps, making a cameo on that series? Has that happened? Any approaches made?
After this movie, after Logan, the material would have to be so extraordinary. Because, and I haven't seen Legion, but it sounds fascinating. And I'm sure very good, but I'm very protective, and you might even say sentimental about Logan. However, another notion has came up only earlier today, and that was Deadpool. There would be a possibility, and I love Deadpool, the movie. So there might be a possible future for Charles, but I would be very surprised if it included Logan.
Because I know that Ryan Reynolds has been calling Hugh Jackman for years, trying to get him to be part of the Deadpool franchise. So you're saying he should probably get your number on speed dial and give you a call, and maybe something would happen.
He can try me. I'm open.
Does he have your number? Does Ryan Reynolds have your number?
He can find it.
What was tougher for you as an actor to leave behind? The Star Trek franchise or leaving behind Professor X? Which one really got deeper into you and made it harder for you to exit?
Both of them got deeper into me, but the conditions of those two franchises were very different. For 7 years, I was Jean-Luc Picard, 5 days a week, 12, 14, 16 hours a day for 7 years. And then we made 4 movies, one after the other. So it was a continuous, unbroken experience. With this, as I said at the beginning, we had years between each movie. And so when the time came to end the series, I was very, very ready. I felt that I had done everything I possibly could do with that character in 178 episodes of television. And I was ready to move on and for something different. Letting go of Charles came as a surprise to me that I had that feeling, but it was a more complicated choice. And maybe the choice isn't yet completely locked in a steel box for all time.
Now, of course, you have roots in Shakespeare and doing Shakespearean productions in England. You've been knighted by the Queen. You're Sir Patrick. And yet your next project is the Emoji Movie, where you're going to be playing the poop emoji. Can you please explain the dissonance there, the incredibly elevated background in doing a comic movie like the Emoji Movie?
Well, to me it's very simple, but of course it seems surprising to a lot of other people who know my work from X-Men or Star Trek, or maybe even other film appearances I've made. All my career, and I began acting professionally as an actor when I was 19, I have always been drawn to diversity, to contrast, and that has stayed with me all my life. And so I look back on my career, and what I see is roles of all kinds. So many, not just in classical theatre, in Shakespeare, although I played clowns, I played emperors, I played tyrants, I played executors. And so I don't find there to be anything at all surprising about being offered Emoji, because he kind of fits me. I know we're already working on it, and the character is not too far away from Sir Patrick Stewart. And but and diversity means everything to me. So that's why I'm excited about this movie.
No, go ahead. Finish that sentence.
Patrick Stewart, thanks for coming to the Wall Street Journal, and the movie is Logan. Thanks for coming here. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Chris. I'm very happy and really quite proud to be here.
Thank you.